Hi there, I'm Brian Burkhart from SquarePlanet, and welcome to this edition of Orange, our monthly news video series to get you to be an amazing communicator. And we're very excited today, an awesome guest, good friend of ours, and just a guy who kind of knows his stuff. This is Jason Crane. Jason is the Executive Vice President and National Sales Director at Transamerica. He's in charge of selling a whole lot of stuff. And he's often put in a position to give really important, high-value presentations with a lot on the line. First and foremost, how are you, Jace?
I'm great.
Good
Brian.
to see you.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, thanks for being here. You know, Jason has to prepare. He's got to make sure that not only he, but certainly his team are well-equipped to handle the situations they're in. And he's probably the best person that we've ever seen really spend time, energy, and effort on preparation. So that's what our topic is this month. It's preparation. And with that, I've got some questions for you. Be honest. Here we go. You ready?
Fire away.
Let's do this. First and foremost, what's your mindset going into a presentation? What are you thinking when it's time to go do a presentation?
I'm thinking about tailoring my presentation specifically to that audience. I don't think enough speakers take into account to whom they're speaking, and their presentation, their delivery comes across as rote to various different audiences. So taking into account the audience, taking into account what will most resonate with them is of particular interest to me. I can tweak it just a bit and use a similar presentation with a number of audiences, provided I vary it a bit and make it feel as though it was specifically constructed for them.
So that's interesting, but how do you prepare? I mean, what are the steps that you take to actually be ready?
First and foremost, I should have you and the audience know it's a lot of work. And people often presume that good speakers or good communicators are born. It's a function of natural acumen or abilities. And that may be the case to some extent, but this is a multi-week, oftentimes multi-month process of preparation that invariably can be accumulated throughout the course of the year. I might take a nugget from an article or some kind of anecdote that I hear from my sales organization or external in a completely different field, or a storyline that I read about, or a book that I actually read, given the fact that I probably don't do enough of it, but each time I read a book, it tends to end up being the theme of the next event that I run. So it's a constant formulation of what I want to say, of how I want to say it, and a workshopping, which is really tremendously beneficial. I would tell you this even if I didn't often pay you for your services, but the fact that we can actually workshop ideas with your team is immensely valuable to me, because we always, throughout the course of the weeks, find that right tone to strike for that audience.
Do you ever visualize the outcome? I know for me, like when I present, when I'm speaking, I always try to think about how the audience will take it, how it'll be to them. Are you conscious that way? Are you visualizing the outcome?
To some extent, although perhaps not exactly how you've proposed it. I don't really envision myself on stage delivering the message, carrying the right note, physically how I'm going to deliver it. Although there certainly are moments that we want to orchestrate throughout the course of a keynote presentation, I'm more interested in thinking about what the audience will do with the message. So to me, particularly of note, I have a chance twice a year to engage my national sales audience. There are a couple hundred people in the crowd that quite literally have the ability to determine the relative success of our organization over the course of the next year. And I carry great responsibility knowing that the words that I deliver throughout the course of that 40 minutes or that half hour can set the tone for the entire organization for the next 6 months or the next year. So I want to make sure that I strike that right balance of reassuring, of recognition, and of accountability, such that they will have something they can act upon after my 30 minutes has expired.
Okay, this is probably the million-dollar question, and I know it's almost unfair because it's different for everybody, but how much time do you spend on this? I mean, I know this takes a long, laborious effort at times, but how much actual time do you put into these preparations and these presentations?
To get back to my earlier comment, a lot. I usually start working with you 10, 12 weeks ahead of an event. And again, most people presume that my comments take some work, and I don't think anybody that sees me speak would believe that I scrapped together notes the night before. Ironically, some of the criticism I've received over the past number of years has been that I can seem rehearsed. And to me, that's a compliment, actually. It's not a criticism. You don't want to come across as rote or scripted or stiff, but I want to know what I'm going to say when I get up on stage. In fact, I have no more anxiety about getting up on stage. I used to have sweaty palms. I used to have the rapid heartbeat in my first couple minutes. None of that anymore, just by Malcolm Gladwell-like reps under my belt. But every night before I speak, I toss and turn because I'm playing the presentation through in my mind over and over and over. And every first night of an event, I leave the cocktail party a little bit early before I'd like to, and go upstairs and work it through for 2 hours in my mind, and wake up early and work it through another couple hours in my mind. And that helps me to know not what I'm going to say, but exactly what I'm going to say the next day. So I can work in some moments of spontaneity, and I can make sure that I find that right pitch for the audience.
Very good. Now, I know this is probably unfair as well, but if there was a single tip, one thing, what's the one tip that you would give people to really make sure that they're preparing properly for a very important presentation?
I'd probably say two, if that's all right, if you'll afford me graciously the opportunity to deliver a couple. The first is have fun. Right? This is not a life or death experience. A lot of people are crippled to speak publicly. I understand that. I understand that it can be more challenging to speak in front of your peers than in front of any kind of foreign audience, because your performance, good or bad, can live with you in perpetuity. And that's a challenge. So I would say make it fun for yourself and for the audience. The other, which I think is really essential, and I've learned this from a wise man, never speak without giving the audience a to-do, an ask. Never walk away from any opportunity on a stage or otherwise when you're communicating with an audience without asking something of them. Demand some movement, demand some velocity, demand some pace, and make it discreet, make it actionable, make it specific. Pick up the phone when you get back to the office on Monday and say this. Here is a common phrase, here is a theme, here is a message that I want everybody to deliver when you get back to your office on Monday. And inevitably, I get back a series of emails. I did it and it worked. Woo! So that to me is gratifying. You asked the question about visualizing the outcome. That to me is the solidification of the outcome, to know that people actually hear what I had to say and acted upon it because I specifically asked that of them.
Awesome stuff. You know, I'm telling you, Jason is the man. If you need to get a hold of him, don't even try. He's a very busy guy. No, seriously, when it comes to preparation, he really is the model. And we really tell people this is the kind of thing that makes or breaks a very important presentation. Spend the right amount of time. Actually think about what it is you're trying to do. Visualize the final product, and you can money this. For SquarePlanet and Orange, I'm Brian Burkhart. Thank you, Jason. We'll see you all next month.